Do you know what the very first thing that crosses a person's mind is? Right before they die. At this moment, a flood of past memories flashed through Kakyoin's mind. Growing up, Kakyoin had always been the extremely withdrawn type, completely unwilling to interact with others, because he could never find any like-minded friends. He was fundamentally unable to open his heart to anyone else, and coupled with the fact that he was the only one who could see Hierophant, he would often treat Hierophant as his only friend. It wasn't until Kakyoin met Jotaro that his mindset was completely changed. Now, just thinking about the way Avdol and Iggy died, goosebumps would involuntarily break out all over his body, because these were the very first like-minded friends he had ever met, and this journey aimed at defeating Dio, even though it only lasted for a short few dozen days, had completely cured his 17 years of utter loneliness. So the very first thing Kakyoin thought of on the brink of death was not his beloved parents far away in his home country, but rather that even if it cost his last ounce of strength, he had to pass on the secret of Dio's stand. Along with the firing of his final Emerald Splash, Kakyoin's life was also officially brought to an end. At this moment, Grandpa had absolutely no time to grieve. This was the intel Kakyoin bought with his own life, and he had to deliver it to Jotaro, absolutely refusing to let Kakyoin die in vain. But Dio's power was simply way too overwhelming. Even though Grandpa had channeled Hammon throughout his entire body, he was absolutely no match for Dio, and got punched straight onto the streets with a single blow. Right then, Jotaro happened to arrive at the scene, and Grandpa hurriedly blurted out the fact that Dio had the ability to stop time. But as a result, in the very next second, at this moment, the time of every living creature in the surroundings had been completely frozen, and only Dio alone could move freely, and this was exactly the time-stopping ability of Dio's stand. The world, in the very beginning, this ability could only stop time for a brief instant, but as the wound on his neck healed, the time he could stop had now increased to 5 seconds, and it would only get longer and longer in the future. Taking into account that Grandpa's body was already covered in Hammon, Dio decisively pulled out a dagger, hurled it straight at Grandpa, and it froze right at Grandpa's neck. After finishing all of this, Dio satisfyingly deactivated his time stop, and in the very next second, the dagger shot right into Grandpa's neck. Seeing this, Jotaro nearby was just about to rush forward, but he was unexpectedly stopped by Grandpa, because he knew exactly how insanely broken Dio's ability was, meaning Jotaro couldn't possibly be a match for Dio. So even if it meant using up his very last ounce of strength, he absolutely had to tell Jotaro to get away quickly. The moment the words left his mouth, Grandpa's life force began to slip away, and he ultimately collapsed onto the ground without a breath.